Welcome into the Verizon Post Game show. Mark Farzetta, Seth, Joyner, Derek Gunn with you on the heels of the Philadelphia Eagles getting another win over the Kansas City Chiefs. This one by the tune of 20-17. And Drew Makuba coming up with the play of the game, capped off by the play for the team, the tush push itself with Jalen Hurts, who only had to punch it in twice because the referees couldn't determine whether or not the ball crossed the plane when we're seeing a still shot of it crossing the plane. The bottom line is Eagles set start the season 2-0. They overcome some struggles in early portions of the game when it came to offense and defense, as a matter of fact, showing more aggression on the defensive side of the football in the early goings of the game. Bottom line, 2-0 to start the season.
That's all that matters. You know, they had to grind it out. It was, tough sledding for both of these teams. The Eagles found a way to make the plays to win the game when they needed to win the game. And like I said, these first 4 games of the season, they want to try to come out of these first 4 with the best record they possibly can. And after they hit week 5, week 6, they should be taking flight.
The way I look at this game is, if you had told me the Eagles would have less than 220 yards of offense and win a game, I'd take that bet every time. But good teams, exceptional teams, find ways to win games in the most adverse situations. It's not always going to be pretty. It is not always going to be dominant. But the bottom line is get the all-important W. And we always talk about how turnovers can change the complexion of a game so much. Only 1 turnover in the entire game goes in favor of the Eagles. That parlays into 7 points, a 14-point swing. That's the difference in the ball game right there.
And how about that? I mean, turnovers, really, that tells the story of the game so many times. And Jalen Hurts, I like to say, cracked the code on that a couple of years ago when he or even last year when he said, wait, if I just don't turn this football over, we're a good enough football team, we're going to win. So I don't need to roll the dice on certain plays. And, I also got a play that's an automatic touchdown that they call the tush push or the brotherly shove, or as the Eagles call it, simply the quarterback sneak. Well, then I could just be as smart with the football as I need to be, and that showed again today. He wasn't taking risks. There were obviously opportunities that many thought he could have thrown the ball downfield. He's standing in the pocket. He's holding the football. He's holding the football. He's holding the football. But, Seth, every time we saw an overhead shot of the field, those receivers were covered.
Well, listen, we're going to talk about the paltry numbers in the pass game, but I think, you have to understand I always say you have to look at the bird's eye view of things. You got to talk about, what's going on down the field. I think sometimes fans will look at stills and say, oh, there's a guy open. Jalen missed a guy wide open right there. But there's so much more to the passing game than meets the eye, and I thought it was pretty telling that Tom Brady, on one shot where they showed the overview, he was like, nothing there, nothing there, nothing there, nothing there. He basically showed you what Jalen Hurts is looking at. So if guys aren't getting open, and a lot of it, we talked about it, while the game was going on. Even when Kansas City did play zone coverages against the Eagles, you just never got the sense that the Eagles dialed up routes that gave Jalen Hurts a chance to get the ball out of his hands and make anything positive happen. Listen, when teams are playing zone, you have to layer, your passing routes. You can't send everybody 10 yards down the field and have them break in or break out. Somebody's got to be running at 6, somebody's got to be running at 12, and somebody's got to be running at 20, okay? So the defense is always going to play from deep to short. So at least if you can't get anything in a hole in the zone at 10 to 12 yards, you always got that safety valve. Like when you watch Mahomes, he's always got a safety valve against zone where somebody's either in the flat or sitting down and right in front of him where he can get rid of the ball. Against man, it's a different animal. But against zone, the Eagles have got to change what they do offensively to give Jalen an outlet when everything against zone, and he's going to continue to see zone. Going to continue to see it. Teams are not going to play man coverage against this football team and let Jalen get out and make plays with his legs. So it's going to be primarily zone. And when you get zone, you got to have an outlet for him, whether it's Saquon swinging out, whether it's Saquon sitting down right over him, or whether you're taking one of your wide receivers and you're dragging him, 5 to 6 yards across the field.
Well, real quick, on that note, is that a first-year coordinator play call problem, or is that just how the Eagles' offense has been?
I think it's a design problem because this isn't something that's been a problem just this year through 2 games. This is something that plagued them last year, and it's even more troubling against blitz because when the minute that Jalen sees blitz, like the two Like, he made a big play to Devontae down the field on a blitz. They came with 0 blitz, go route, he floated it. We were fortunate enough, to get that one, okay? The one to AJ, didn't get it. And it happened last year. Like, when they see blitz, it's all go. And I'm like, why not take your guy in the slot and just scream him across the field? There's nobody left. So if he catches that ball, everybody else is on the go. That guy on the crossing route, guess what? He's running away from the defender, and it's going to be 10, 15 yards before anybody can tackle him. But you send everybody down the field, and Jalen's got to heave up a prayer under pressure, and you wonder why, the passing game isn't working as effectively as it probably should.
I would have the tight end run a drag route every time. Even if you want to run your wide receivers as a decoy to stretch the field and open up more space in the middle of the field, let the wide receivers go down. I know AJ's forte is that quick slant route. Let them clear out the space. The tight ends, even though Dallas Goedert is not there, Calcaterra and Grayson, they can run that drag route all day. Whether you have a linebacker or a safety on them, you got them on your hip. And so if they don't catch the ball 3 times out of 10, you might even get a pass interference out of the play. But once you're that bigger man on a safety's hip, they should catch the ball 9 times out of 10.
My thing is, too, so you got the guy in the slot that's off the ball, okay? Send him in motion. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you send him in motion, now that slot corner has got to play him down the middle because he doesn't know whether he's breaking in or whether he's breaking out, okay? So now when you send him in motion and you bring him back in return motion, now he can either cross it or if that guy jumps inside, he can break it off and take it to the flat. Now that's like a sight adjustment, against blitz with a single high safety. But when you have an all out, he's only going to have one throw. And that throw can't be a Hail Mary every single time. You got to have something built into your offense where Jalen, you can give him an easy throw to beat the blitz right now.
Yeah, the jump ball situations that happened twice. Once worked out really well for the Eagles and Devontae Smith, who came up with a 28-yard reception on a 3rd and 10. The other, he was out of bounds. If he would have come down with the football anyway earlier in the game, he probably would have been out of bounds on the attempt at the reception. But there seems like there's a better idea than just throwing it up in the middle, like downfield. Like, this seems to be a very basic mistake, or a big mistake made by a rookie offensive coordinator and play caller. So who do you blame?
Listen, it's been a part of their offense forever. One of the reasons why they struggle against the blitz so much is for this very reason, is because they do not have sight adjustments and they don't have hot routes built into their offense. What they do is every single time that they get a blitz, they feel like they can step down and shut it off. If Jalen's got to make one guy miss, he's going to try to make one guy miss, and they're going to take a shot down the field. That's when they're looking for explosive plays. And what I'm trying to tell you is there's a better way to do it, because you don't have to have an explosive play every single time they blitz. The objective is to get the ball quickly out of the quarterback's hand, and if you can get a first down, get a first down. If you can't, at least it's a catch and tackle, and now you're in a situation where you got another down to live and play. But they live by this motto. This is the way that they've operated, for the last, since Sirianni has been here.
Well, I'll say this. When they needed to make a play, the defense stepped up and made 2 specific plays in this one. One was forcing the fumble, which wasn't credited a fumble until later after the play by Nolan Smith being able to get his hand in there to force a fumble early in the game. And then you're also able to see what I consider to be the biggest possible play of the game, and that was Drew Makuba. Let's break it down when we talk about this Philadelphia Eagles offense and what they had going for themselves, or defense rather, especially when you talk about how they were able to step up and get after the quarterback with the blitzes that they had in the first half of the game. By my count in the first half, to get into this, Seth, 4 blitzes in the first half, 1 blitz in the second half. It was working in the first half. Why didn't we see more of that in the second half?
Too much respect for Patrick Mahomes? Worried about what he might do in the second half? Why would you, though? And I understand Fangio's working with a new group of people, a personnel on that defense. But 2 games now, the defense has kept this team in the game. The defense has made enough significant plays to give the offense just enough leverage to get the job done. Play of the game, we already know what the play of the game was. The interception. That's that, And obviously it was a fluke, but then again, you know what? A lot of teams win games on fluke plays. You win or you lose, but it doesn't make a difference. But the bottom line is, Makuba, we didn't know what to expect from him when the season started, okay? We still don't know what the answer is on the cornerback situation opposite Quinyon Mitchell, but the interior, the front seven, is making plays. They're stuffing the run. They're not giving up a lot of yards in the run. They're getting pressure on the quarterback. We're all sitting there talking about Vic Fangio dialing up blitzes. What the heck's going on? It's like bizarro world. But obviously Fangio has a better feel earlier in the season than he did last year with the personnel he's playing with. That he has. Anytime you blitz that much, a guy like Patrick Mahomes, you have confidence in the people that you have playing on that side of the football for you. And it's only going to grow from here because they're going to play some more quarterbacks. You look at their schedule, they're going to play some more quarterbacks. They're going to have to use a very similar attack plan against to try to get the advantage for them to get the ball back in the offense's hands.
It was working. We didn't know that Vic Fangio even had this in him. This is something we didn't think he was doing, and then all of a sudden you started to see it dialed up. Safety blitz, Drew Makuba. Linebacker blitz, obviously, was Zach Bond. Jahad Campbell, I think, was sent 2 of those times as well. Where had that been?
Well, listen, Vic Fangio is a smart guy, okay? He played the entire Super Bowl 59 and didn't blitz Patrick Mahomes one time. So, of course, the mindset is this is going to be our mode of operation. We're going to come in and play this game the same way we played the last game. Well, guess what? The Chiefs' offensive line is worse than it was last year. The running game is worse than it was last year, and you're not afraid of their wide receiving core because the 2 speed guys are out. So what perfect time to dial up some blitzes. I was so excited to see this because I'm a pressure guy. Now, I'm not the type of pressure guy that's saying you got to come after Patrick Mahomes all the time because he's smart enough that he's going to hurt you. I think that's why you didn't see much blitzing in the second half because he had seen enough of it, and Vic didn't want to put the defense in a situation where Patrick could stand at the line of scrimmage, decipher what's going on, check, and get in the right situation. He caught Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes off guard in the first half with those blitzes where he created some pressures, created some bad throws, and I thought it was absolutely genius.
All right, now let's get into our drive of the game to talk about what the offense did well today, and that's your Philadelphia Eagles offense on their drive of the game. So let's jump into that right now, and that takes place after the huge Drew Makuba interception. You have the Eagles go down the field, 59 yards on 10 plays. They have the big third down conversion to Devontae Smith. They are able to get it in the end zone to take a 20-10 lead on the Kansas City Chiefs. And at that moment, gentlemen, I think we all felt like the Eagles were going to put this one in their back pocket.
Here's what, to me, the biggest play of that drive was. Kansas City blitzes, and I mean they came hard. And Jalen stood his ground, didn't panic, and he threw it up to a receiver who knows how to come back for a football. I mean, it was perfect. Some quarterbacks would panic, some might duck, some might throw it away real quick. He stood his ground and waited until the last possible moment and arched that ball up there for Devontae to go up and get it. To me, that was a play of the game in a lot of ways if you think about it, because we've seen veteran quarterbacks that'll chuck and duck in a hurry. They don't care where the ball goes, they'll throw it out of bounds. He got it in the vicinity where his receiver, his top flight receiver, could get his hands on it, and sure enough, it worked out to perfection. That was the turning point. After the interception, that's another turning point, big turning point of the game.
Both were on all-out blitzes. Both those plays that you read, those jump balls were on the all-out blitzes, and Jalen Hurts was able to find his guy downfield for at least an opportunity to make a play. And on the second one, the 3rd and 10 play that you're mentioning, Gunner, is the one that really worked out. That's the play that I found, yes, offensively speaking, play of the game.
I tell you what's interesting, though. They still have not found that consistent deep ball drive that we were so accustomed to last year. They had one big play last week to Jahan Dotson, and this play turns out to be a 28-yard big play to Devontae. But in terms of just stretching the field like we've seen them do over the last year to get to the Super Bowl and even in the Super Bowl, we haven't seen that yet. And I know a lot of it has to do with the way defensive schemes are playing them right now. So I can't wait to see when and how Kevin Petula makes the adjustment to be able to stretch the field more, to open up more for Saquon, because here it is. Saquon had 88 yards rushing today, 4 yards a carry. But, like I said before the start of the season, I don't expect Saquon to get anywhere near 2,000 yards rushing. But he can easily get behind his offensive line 1,400 yards rushing, which is still an outstanding season. But you saw yet another concerted effort by a defense of keeping Saquon from getting his 100 yards, and it's going to happen next week again, I'm sure, when they play the Rams. They're going to try to do some of the same things. So by the third game, we should see even more definitive adjustments coming from Kevin Petula, But as I sit here right now, I'm not sure we're going to see that.
I don't think that, the deep ball is so dependent on circumstance. I think at times, we think that they can just line up and take a shot down the field. But when you get quarters coverage or you get two high safeties, that opportunity is not going to be there. Okay, and when you have two top-flight wide receivers like A.J. Brown that can, and Devontae Smith that can stretch the field, when you got a guy like Dallas Goedert, they could get up the seam, even though they don't really utilize him that way, but he has the speed to stretch the field. Teams aren't going to allow this Eagles team to do that. But where you have opportunity, and I know it sounds counterintuitive to what I just stated, earlier, okay, when teams come with regular blitzes, you understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. When you decipher regular blitzes where you got single high safety and you can pick it up, now that's your time to take shots downfield. Like there was 2 instances today where I felt like the Eagles should have taken a shot on 1st and 10, okay? When Kansas City on the, let me see, what is it? Where'd they go? When they went for it, okay? Was it on the first drive? Yeah, they turned it over on downs. Mm-hmm. The first drive. 4 plays, 8 yards. Andy decides to go for it on 4th down, and the Eagles defense stuff them. And you come out on 1st and 10, most teams, when you get a turnover or you get a turnover on downs like that, the first play is we're going to take a shot downfield. Okay. Now, if you got 2 high safeties or the quarterback reads quarter coverage, now I understand you not taking a shot down the field. Okay. But they got single high coverage because the box was loaded for Saquon. They ran the ball 1 yard in a cloud of dust. Why not take the shot down the field?
Exactly.
Same exact thing after the Makuba interception. Makuba gets the interception, runs it back to the plus side of the 50, 1st and 10, they run it, 1 yard and a cloud of dust. You got single high safety. Why aren't you checking to a shot down the field? Because this is what you get. If you go play action pass, they've got the box loaded, okay? And the Kansas City Chiefs, even in, 11 personnel, they played a lot of, base defense. Base defense being 4 down and 3 linebackers on the field. That's the time you feast because you have to be in man coverage in that situation. So now, go play action pass. They're expecting for you to run, okay? When you set up, look right, and whatever side that safety, now you can run two post routes, okay? Look right. Once you get that safety leaning, come back the other way. Post. Now, there's your bomb. There's your explosive play. But they came out on first and 10 both of those times, and they ran the ball on 2nd down on 1st and 10.
What would be the reasoning to be so conservative?
No clue.
I mean, they were throwing daggers in the Super Bowl.
It baffles me to no end.
The only thing I can think of, D-Gun, is they wanted to run as much clock as they could while they had the lead to try to keep the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hand.
I don't disagree with you, but when you basically have 2 number 1 receivers. And if they're going to play single high safety, you cannot cover both of them. You can't double cover both of them. Like you just said, you know what? You're going to stack the box against me, I'm going to burn you. How many quarterbacks do we see take advantage of situations like that?
I know.
The better offenses in the National Football League, they're going for a home run ball at least once every other series. 2 games in now, we really haven't seen it. We saw it one time the first game. We saw the rainbow prayer that was answered this game on that defining drive for them. But you have to send a message to a defense. If you become that, how do I want to say, predictable, it's going to come back and bite you. Mm-hmm. But when we sit here talking about what they should have done, could have done, the bottom line is they're 2-0. They're 2-0 against a good Kansas City team. They basically own Kansas City. They're in Kansas City's head right now. 2nd time in a row they've beaten them there. They embarrassed them in the Super Bowl. They came out of the gate. First game of the season is always a little rough. They could have lost the Dallas game. They could have lost this game. The bottom line is they're +2 in the win column now. That's all that matters.
Listen, they find
all that matters.
They find ways to win. There's no doubt about it. I mean, the defense stepped up and made some plays today.
Yes.
The offense made plays where it needed to make plays, and Jake Elliott was just spot on. 58, 56-yard field goals today. They were absolutely huge at that time.
Now you have 2 58-yard field goals, two games into the season, by the way. A 56-yarder as well. I mean, he's just been absolute money for this football team.
And how many games into into the season last year did it take before Elliott hit a 50-yard field goal? He had 2 in one game.
Yeah, how about that?
I'll tell you, the thing that surprised me today is how bad Patrick Mahomes looked. He looked good running and scrambling in the first half, but I've never seen him miss so many wide open throws. And that's a result of, pressure. I try to tell people all the time. That's why, blitzing and pressure is such a big deal to me, and it should be to any offensive coordinator. Because when you bring pressure like that, you throw off the timing and the rhythm, the comfortability of the quarterback, his ability to step into passes because he's not sure if and when he's going to get hit. And, and I don't care who you are. Like, Patrick Mahomes is a great player. I played against a bunch of great quarterbacks in my day. But the one thing that pressure and those hits are, they are like kryptonite to Superman for any quarterback, and I don't care who you are.
Fair enough.
That deep ball he missed to Thornton there in the fourth quarter.
Oh, yeah.
He doesn't miss those throws.
No.
He did not miss those throws.
No, that was where I couldn't see if it was Blankenship or if it was Cooper DeJean got clipped. Ran into his own player, I believe it was. Yeah, and that was wide open, and they weren't able to capitalize on it, fortunately for the Eagles, obviously. When we come back, we're going to talk about the player of the game, our mid-Penn Bank player to bank on. The young man steps up. We'll talk about that when we return. We'll also check in with our social media correspondent, Bailey Livesey, and then we'll look to hear from Nick Sirianni after the game. Make sure you guys are liking and subscribing on the Seth Joyner Show YouTube channel. This right here is the Verizon Post Game Show.
I know what you're thinking. Total glow up. What's her secret? Fine, I'll spill. I totally upgraded with Verizon. Everyone gets a free phone with any plan, even if you're already a customer, like me. Now I have Google Gemini. It's like a little glam squad in my pocket. Gemini, what eye makeup goes with this lipstick?
I'd suggest a classic cat eye.
Wow, setting the bar high for daycare pickup. Get in on this.
There's a number on the screen.
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 There is a number on the screen.
There's a number on the screen.
There's a number on the screen. There's a number on the screen.
Since 1893, Weber Display and Packaging has been Pennsylvania's leading manufacturer of corrugated packaging and displays. We're family-owned with 4 Philadelphia locations, 2 converting facilities, a warehouse, and a fulfillment center. Designed through delivery, we exceed customer needs. Weber Display and Packaging. Our core values drive everything we do. Come join our team.
Welcome back to the Seth Joyner Show YouTube channel and the Verizon Post Game Show, following the Eagles being able to come out on top of the Kansas City Chiefs yet again, 20-17. And how about the young safety being our mid-Penn Bank player to bank on, Drew Makuba, coming up with a fantastic play to put the momentum back in the Eagles' favor, coming up with that fourth quarter interception out of the hands of Travis Kelce and into the hands of Drew Makuba, who was able to return it, get plus yardage out of it, Seth, as you mentioned earlier, and the Eagles on their best drive of the game were able to take full advantage of that play. During the preseason, during training camp, you could hear it from Nick Sirianni time and time again. He's just got a knack for coming up with the football.
Okay, I'm going to talk about Drew Makuba, but I want to talk about Cooper DeJean first because he was the one that had the coverage. And the thing that drives me crazy about watching Travis Kelce is that teams give him free access. They don't bump him. They don't jam him. And when you don't do that, he's going to have a big day against you. Every single time that Cooper DeJean was on him and he had an opportunity to get the bump, Zach Bond did the same thing, got the bump. You throw off the timing. Like that out route at the end of the game that Patrick Mahomes tried to hit him on the outside and missed him, that's timing. When you throw off the timing, now you got a chance of getting an incomplete pass or making Pat pull off of him and go to another read. But I'm telling you, a guy like him, you have to put your hands on him. If you let him run the route and let him run these uncover routes, he's going to win 9 times out of 10 because he is always optioning off your leverage. If you're inside, he's going to push you in and work out. If you're outside, he's going to push you out. He's going to work in. But if you get up and you put your hands on him and you jam him, it throws the entire timing off. Because Cooper DeJean rerouted him on that play, he didn't get his head around soon enough to see that the ball was coming to him. Then you get the tip. Drew Makuba, like Nick Sirianni said, he's got a nose for the ball. He's always around the ball. Did a phenomenal job of corralling that ball, getting down the sideline with that ball. That's a big turn of events because even if you hold them to a field goal there, now we got a tie game. Who knows? We potentially may be going into overtime instead of the Eagles winning this thing by 3 points. But turnovers are so huge in this game, and he was in the right place where he was supposed to be and made a play when the play was there to be made. The Eagles need more players that get the job done in that vein because opportunities are always going to be there. You got to make the plays when the opportunities present themselves.
As impressive as that interception was, what was even more impressive is watching an offensive lineman run down the field and catch up with the defensive back.
He's going to get a whole lot of slack about that. A lot
of
ribbon tomorrow in the film room. I can promise you that.
Look, did offensive linemen run like that when you played the game?
No.
These guys now 6'6", 320, 330 running 4.4, 4.5 40s. It's insane. And I'm sitting there looking at the angle he had to take just to catch up with Makuba. I'm thinking, he ain't catching up. Like, what? Knocked him out of bounds. Man, I'll tell you what, it's impressive to watch these big guys play the game the way they play it nowadays.
41 yards you returned it, and Simmons was with him there almost every step of the way. That's hustle, kids. You don't quit on the play. That's how you do it. Look, one of the interesting things to think about going into this season was the question about could two rookies again step up and help this defense tremendously? Last year, the obvious, you had Cooper DeJean, you had Quinyon Mitchell. This year, could it be Jahad Campbell and could it be Drew Makuba as guys stepping up in that same vein?
No, I think so. They've shown themselves more than ready, willing, and able to get the job done. Things haven't been perfect. That third down missed tackle on Patrick Mahomes in the first half by Makuba, that just can't happen. That can't happen. You're a safety. He's a quarterback. You got to get him down on the ground and put him in a fourth down situation. But the interception erases all of that, and it's not going to be perfect because they're still learning. They're still learning the defense. They're still learning the NFL game. The same way that Quinyon and Cooper last year were learning on the job, on the fly, these two young players are going to do the same. But listen, you got to tip your hat to Howard Roseman, just going to get these guys, understanding that they are NFL ready. They're ready to step in and play and get the job done right now. And, through 2 weeks, they have done just that.
You've heard a lot of our ideas. We want to hear from you. Let's go to Bailey Livesey, our social media correspondent. Bailey, what are the good people saying when it comes to the chat and social media?
Well, let me tell you, social media right now is on fire. There are so many tweets and memes of Kevin Patullo and his bad play calling. I mean, I saw one of a Bugatti parked on a dirt path. I mean, some of them are brutal, very brutal. Do you think the criticism on his play calling is fair?
I say no. I mean, listen, the guy he may have a Bugatti, and from time to time, he may not be able to get out of second gear. But what do we kind of expect? This is like the learning curve for a new coordinator who's never called plays before. So he's got to get his rhythm. And I'm sure Nick Sirianni is trying to step back, and allow his coordinator, who he's given the keys to this Bugatti, to figure out how to get, from second gear to third, fourth, and fifth, and sometimes in sixth. So it may take a while. But listen, at the end of the day, what is it all about? Okay, the Eagles were sitting in the same position last year. After 4 games, they were 2-2, and everybody was complaining and going on. And what happened? They went 16-1 over the last 17 games. Okay, pump the brakes. Let's give this thing some time to, work itself out, and let's see where we are, over 8 weeks instead of casting these aspersions after 2 weeks.
I'm going to say that the criticism at this point is fair, only because he was in the room with Kellen Moore, with Nick Sirianni all last year. He watched, he listened, he learned. I'm sure he had his input as well, and especially when it got to the latter part of the season and the whisper mill started to talk Kellen Moore is going to be in line for a head coaching job. So if I'm the guy under Kellen Moore, I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to study him even more. So I'm going to ask even more questions because I want to put my own niche on this offense, but I want to look similar to what we had so much success with in 2024. Now, granted, if we knew on the outside looking in before the season started that everybody the Eagles played, first and foremost defensively, they're going to try to take away Saquon, then you automatically, in training camp, you're already studying, what do I do with all this talent I have, tight ends, wide receivers, what do I do to open up a defense a little bit more? So I'm somewhat surprised we haven't seen that in 2 games yet.
Listen, I'll say this. It's one thing to put together a game plan about how you think a team is going to play you, and I say this all the time. You can come up, the best laid plan always looks good and seems good in your mind. And when you put those X's and O's on a piece of paper, okay, the plan always looks good. But when those X's and O's start moving and breathing and lining up where you don't expect for them to line up and doing things that you don't expect for them to do, that's the difference. And the good coaches are the ones that have the ability to watch the game in game and see how things have adjusted from one week to the next and make their adjustment to what's actually going on.
I understand the questioning of Kevin Patullo.
Sure.
Now the saving grace, let's get to it. 2-0. Saving grace.
Yeah, bottom line,
Can't
2-0.
argue it. Yeah, coaches talk all the time about startup costs for players. Well, a coach who's never been an offensive coordinator, been a play caller before, they have the startup costs as well. To not get in the way of at least a win in 2 different games is a good thing. But then you also look at it and you say, wait a minute, 2 touchdowns in the last 4 quarters of football? Not great. No. Not ideal.
And I'm not sitting here saying Kevin Patullo's game calling right now sucks. I'm not saying that. I'm saying I thought it would be a little bit different, a little bit more explosive, a little bit more spread out than what we're seeing. We understand he's never done this before from this position as an offensive play caller. And we understand it's a growth process. I'm just saying I thought it would be a little different. It is only 2 games into the season. You got 15 games to go. I'm expecting them to get a lot better each and every week.
Football is a game of
give and take.
It's a game of sometimes taking what the offense gives you.
Sure.
And you have to be patient enough to take what and if you look at the great ones, if you look at Tom Brady, okay, Tom Brady always took what the defense gave him and methodically moved down the field until they had a lead and they forced their hands to do something that they don't really like to do. Now it's like, oh my God, I got Gronk over here one-on-one. They're coming on the blitz. Let me check the protection. Let me take advantage, of my matchup. And that's what he did. But people talk about explosive plays like it's something that you can just conjure up out of nowhere. It does not work that way. Defenses get paid and defensive coordinators get paid to do what they do, to stop you from making explosive plays because they understand that you want them. So they're not going to just give them to you. You have to put the defense in a position where they have to take a risk and they have to take a chance in order for you to get a big play. Smitty's ball. That was a risk by Steve Spagnuolo. Bit him in the behind. And it happened not only today, but it happened in the Super Bowl. You took a risk. You left your guy one-on-one. Smitty slammed the door on the Super Bowl with a 40-something yard touchdown, okay? So when the opportunities are there, you have to maximize them. But people don't think and believe that somehow, some way, that Kevin Patullo is some mad scientist and he can create these explosive plays out of nowhere because the defense gets paid to stop offenses too.
All right, that's the news report on the Bugatti. Bailey.
Well, let me ask you this
real quick.
Let me ask you this real quick then. Should the offense been doing a better job of dinking and dunking down the field? We see a lot of the better offenses in the National Football League dink and dunk their way up and down the field. 2 games into the season, as we watch this version of the Eagles offense grow and mature, we didn't see it in the Dallas game. We didn't see it today. They could easily, with that personnel they have on the field, easily dink and dunk teams to death and frustrate the heck out of teams up and down the field.
Hey, listen, I agree. I think their route concepts lacks creativity. Okay. Because, when I talked earlier about teams playing zone, Dallas played a lot of zone against them in the first half last week. Kansas City played a lot of zone in the first half. They didn't really start ramping up the blitzes until the second half. That's your opportunity, to run all stop, all hook, all curls. You know what I'm saying? Where you drive the defender down the field and you stop and you turn around and Jalen's getting the ball out of his hands right now. But when you're pushing your routes 10 to 12 plus yards down the field, you're running to the zone droppers because they're trying to get depth to keep everything in front of them. So you can talk about the quarterback not taking advantage of the passing game, but I think by design, schematically, the coaches can do a better job of giving Jalen an opportunity to take advantage of the short passing game.
Bailey, what else are the people saying about the Eagles now improving to 2-0 on the season after this win?
Okay, so moving on from the Bugatti, there is so much about the Eagles' D-line carrying this team tonight. Do you think they deserve the credit for this win against the Chiefs?
There was some steady pressure. I mean, even without the blitzes, they were making Patrick Mahomes move off his mark time and time again. So today I'll also tell you this. It was great to see Jalen Carter out there, which might be the most obvious thing to say, but we need to acknowledge it. We haven't acknowledged yet his presence on the interior line of scrimmage and what he was able to do against that Kansas City Chiefs offensive line. And that Patrick Mahomes every single play was thinking, where's that Carter?
Well, I think that's why I think that's the reason why Patrick Mahomes had such an off day, because you just don't see him miss some of the throws that he missed because they created a lot of pressure. They did a decent job against the run. If you take Mahomes out of the run game, and I don't have the numbers in front of me yet, I haven't worked up the final numbers, but the Chiefs rushed for 97 yards on 16 carries in the first half, 5 for 60 yards and a touchdown were Mahomes. So, at the end of the day, listen, the success that you have on both sides of the ball is dependent on how your offensive line and your defensive line play. So if you're not going to give the defensive line some credit for being able to hold this explosive offense, minus their top wide receivers, but the greatest quarterback, in the game right now to 17 points, come on.
Kansas City had 19, outside of Patrick Mahomes, 19 carries, 55 yards rushing. That's a heck of a day for a defense. A quarterback that can scramble is going to hurt you, like a Jalen Hurts, like a Patrick Mahomes. They're going to hurt you to a certain degree. But when you hold the so-called running backs to 19 carries, 55 yards, you more than done your job. This Eagles front seven has done his job for 2 games in terms of thwarting 2 running-type games.
I'll take it.
Take it every week.
Bailey, what else do you have for us?
Okay, so at the Eagles Times on X gave us not so much of a fun fact. Adoree Jackson has allowed the most yards by any Eagles defender since 2022 in Week 1. What is your take on his performance?
The Eagles drastically need an upgrade. So those numbers are what you would call not good. Ja'Cory Bennett hasn't come up and risen to the occasion like we'd hoped. Keely Ringo took himself out of the competition by not really being competitive since game 1 of the preseason. The Eagles need to do better at that position, obviously, and I don't know if that guy is on the roster right now, Seth.
Well, hey, listen, they have what they have, and, Vic is making the best of it. He played better today than he did last week, but I think that we all can see that there's a glaring hole in this defense, and, as you move forward, what that's going to look like, can he get better? Will he get better? That's a question, yet to be answered. And is Ja'Cory Bennett, the answer if you can get him up to speed on the defense? And the funny thing is, Ja'Cory Bennett is a 4-3 guy, okay? And for all accounts, he was a decent player for the Raiders last year. But when you trade a player like that, doesn't it kind of make you wonder why you would get rid of it? Because everybody needs good corners. You know what I'm saying, D-Gun?
Yeah,
everybody needs players that are, especially a 4-3 guy, everybody can use a player like that. Is it possible the reason why he can't get on the field is because potentially he might not be able to learn the playbook, and maybe that's why the Raiders were okay with with moving on from him?
I was thinking the same thing.
Okay.
I was thinking the same thing.
I was just throwing a thought out there.
There you go.
And maybe it's one of those situations where even though Adoree Jackson isn't your best option, he's the best option under the circumstances. because a coach will put a player on the field that may be a little less talented than the other if he knows what he's doing, opposed to putting that highly talented player on the field that don't know what he's supposed to do.
Fair enough. Bailey, thank you so much. We appreciate you joining us here and giving us the skinny on all things on the social media platforms. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Thank you.
Coming up a little bit later, we're going to be joined by Dr. Bruce Grossinger. Some injuries to focus in on this game, including one to an Eagles backup quarterback, and also Jalen Carter gripping his wrist at one point. We'll find out all that and more in a little bit. Right now, you're watching the Verizon Post Game show on the Seth Joyner Show YouTube channel and 6abc.com. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Back in a second.
At Revolution X, we know that fortunes are made in times of uncertainty. Are you selling your investment real estate? Are you interested in deferring your tax with a 1031 exchange? At RevX, we're experts in 1031 exchange planning and the use of passive real estate options using DSTs. Not in the midst of an exchange and want to invest in real estate but don't know where to start? Revolution X has institutional grade real estate options for any size investor right now. Set up a consultation at RevXWealth.com. RevX, defer the tax, maximize the gain.
Gentlemen, are you ready for a wardrobe update? Introducing Divine Nine's Custom Menswear, your clothier for truly unique, custom-made threads. With Divine Nine, you can design your own one-of-a-kind suit, jacket, slacks, shirts, golf pants, and shorts, perfectly handcrafted by our skilled artisans who will bring your vision to life. Prepare to stand out from the crowd with Divine Nine's Custom Clothier, official clothier of Seth Joyner. Custom clothing made for you.
If you understand that success is built on trusted relationships and dependable performance, Mid-Penn Bank is the right bank for you. We're on a mission to prove that the right bankers can make a big difference. We work harder, we get things done, and we're in your corner. With financial centers strategically located throughout the greater Philadelphia region and new locations in central New Jersey, we're ready to bring you the best in commercial and personal banking. Call or visit us today to connect with a professional Mid-Penn banker. Member FDIC. Go Eagles!
Pride, passion, and persistence. These are the values that drive us all at Ron Jaworski Golf. We strive to deliver outstanding conditions as well as playability for golfers of all ages and abilities. Our championship golf courses offer a variety of challenges, from a link-style walk along the river to an escape into the pines and everything in between. My team at Ron Jaworski Golf is committed to delivering memorable experiences every single day. See all we do at ronjaworskigolf.com.
This upcoming segment, ladies and gentlemen, is brought to you by the wonderful people at Recovery Unplugged. Coming up in this segment, we're also going to talk to our friend, Dr. Bruce Grossinger, of course, about all the injuries taking place in this game. We're also hoping to hear from Nick Sirianni after the game. But, gentlemen, I got to ask you one question about Andy Reid and that 4th and 1 call where they decided to go for it, not kick the field goal. Would have tied the game at 13, assuming Bucker would have been able to make the kick. Instead, they continued the drive. And then later on that drive is where Drew Makuba comes up with the interception. What did you think of Andy Reid going for it on that 4th and 1?
Andy Reid likes to go for it in situations like that. I was a little bit surprised that he decided to go for it that deep in his own territory at that particular point in the game. It was almost like he was panicking. His defense was playing a good game. Why would you take that risk and give the Eagles the ball that deep in your own territory at that particular time? So, for as long as I've known Andy likes to be daring, at times, and he likes to put trust in his offensive personnel, and the offensive personnel likes the fact that their head coach puts that kind of trust in them. But that play to me was a little bit surprising, even for Andy Reid.
Were you surprised he rolled the dice there?
I was. I think, the two mistakes that he made, the first one he got away with it. Out of the half, the first series coming out in the second half of the game, he went for it on 4th down, and the Eagles stuffed him. And then they turned around. The Eagles had it on the plus side, and they couldn't convert anything. I think the Eagles probably they went 3 plays for 2 yards, and then Jake Elliott kicks the 56-yard field goal. So he got away with that one. But the other one, where at the end of the game that resulted in the Drew Makuba interception, if he kicks the field goal there, they tie the game at 13 right there. Instead, you get a potential 14 to 10 to 14 point swing because the Eagles turn around and get the interception, go down, score. Now they go up by 2 scores, they're up 20-10. That was a big mistake.
All right, now let me ask you this. Nick Sirianni, before the half, the Eagles were able to get the ball. They have what I thought was a first down in a terrible spot to A.J. Brown on a play that I thought he made an 11-yard reception on, only credited for 10. Instead of going for it with 2 timeouts and actually trying to score more points than just the field goal, which, yes, they did end up getting, he decides to bleed the clock down from 39 seconds to 2 seconds and then kick the field goal. That is very un-Nick Sirianni-like. And I understand we have Nick Sirianni now available post-game. Let's go to that press conference.
Nick, what is it about this team to find different ways to win week in and week out? It seems like every week guys do it in a different way.
Resiliency, playing for each other together, not wanting to let each other down, the process that they go through, and just all the things, the mental toughness that we have. It's just a bunch of good guys, good coaches, good players, and yeah, our job, especially early in the season, is, and what I've said constantly to the team, is find a way to win, take pride in winning any way that you possibly can, work to get better throughout the week, repeat. So, we got to keep getting better. I think there's no, I've said this before, I don't know if I said this to you guys, but I think that when you come off a season like we came off last year, I think the expectation is that you're going to pick up right where you left off. There's steps to this, right? There's steps for all the teams that are playing right now, and there's steps to get better. So as you're getting better, our goal is to play our best football by the end of the year. As you're getting better, find ways to win, get better, and repeat.
It seems like Drew Makuba has an knack for just getting around the football. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, I think I said that to you guys very early on. He's got a knack to find the football. You can see it on his college tape. Some guys have that. I think we have that at a lot of our levels of our defense. I think Jalen Carter has that. I think Zach Bond has that. I think Cooper DeJean has that. Reed Blankenship showed to have that, and he has that. And kind of similar to last week, we said there at halftime, there's nothing sexy about, the offense protecting the football, right? But they've done so 2 weeks in a row. And I know, Jalen had that early one that we were in the right spot to get the ball back. But then there's that level of the defense. We talked about it in there, that it's going to come down to, who takes the ball away, who protects the ball, and who takes the ball away. And we had a big one. And Drew was that. When you see interceptions in the NFL, the quarterback's not throwing the ball to that guy, obviously, right? And so it's very rare that you get just this clean pick. They happen, but a lot of them happen off those types of plays right there. With a bounce of the ball and then being in the right spot. It first starts with everyone being on the same page and being in the right spot. Then it's being able to take advantage when you get your hands on the football, and he has the ability to do that. He showed that in the preseason. He showed that in all through the all through training camp. He showed that at Clemson. He showed that at Texas, and he's got an ability to do that. It's great. It's a great quality to have. We work our butt. Yeah, we work our butts off on it. First of all, it's all about the guys, right? It's all about the guys up front, the tight ends, Jalen, the timing of everything. I obviously won't get into all the things that we do to prepare for it, but, it's not an easy play to practice, but our guys do a great job of simulating it as much as we possibly can, during practice, during walkthroughs, different things like that, creativity by our coaches to find ways to do that. As you can see, teams are going to do everything they can possibly do to stop it. So you can see, some of the things. I won't get into that either. I don't want to give any other teams a clue to what they were doing. But, and we're prepared for all those things, and the guys are prepared for all those things. But I think it always comes down to those guys up front, and Jalen. I've had a lot of success with that play, and we'll continue to use it to our advantage.
It looks like the Chiefs were complaining that a couple of times that the guards were going early. I probably get that from every team, but how close is that, and how good do you guys have to get the timing part?
Yeah, we got to be very good at it because, again, like I said, teams are, I would argue that they were in the neutral zone a lot, and taking every inch that they had. They called the first one. to back them up. I didn't think they necessarily backed up, but it's, it is what it is. And they're going to do other things to try to stop that with, the way, again, don't want to get too much into it, but they're doing everything they can do. So it's a little bit, there's a little bit of gamesmanship on both sides with that. We know, though, that we have to be perfect with it, with how we come off the football, timing it up, all those different things, because, again, we know we have to be perfect with it. We got to get better at that portion of it, of being perfect with it. And I haven't seen the tape on it, obviously, yet of what what they're saying. But, listen, I fuss at the referees at times when I think it goes one way, and I would expect them to do the exact same thing. So, it was just a good effort because, when you're running that play, everyone knows you're running that play. So there's something pretty cool about being able to execute a play when you know exactly what's coming, and it just speaks to the volumes of our guys. And that's a heck of a football team with a great defensive line. I can't tell you how much respect I got for that defensive line, that defense, Spags, Chris Jones, McDuffie, all the Bolton, all those guys. You can see why they've won so many games.
Head coach Nick Sirianni addressing the media following the Eagles' 20-17 victory over the Kansas City Chiefs. For more on the injury report for the Philadelphia Eagles, let's talk to our friend Dr. Bruce Grossinger right now to get an idea of what's going on injury-wise for the Eagles. First off, Dr. Bruce, great to have you along again. You were telling me something, though, about the Eagles' third-string quarterback, at least for today, their backup quarterback, Tanner McKee. The thumb looking more and more healed as he was dressed today.
That's true. Good to see everybody today. A little bit like the Maytag repairman, not a lot of in-game serious injuries. Tanner McKee is recovering from his distal phalanx fracture, and to the extent he was even activated as an emergency quarterback, and that's good news. He did some soft toss, and I believe that he'll return, that obviously he'll be the second-string quarterback, I believe, in the Denver Broncos game.
All right, and also just going into this game, word came out throughout the week that Dallas Goedert was dealing with another knee injury. Do you know when he sustained it, and also what does the recovery time look like?
Well, the good news is he played 92% of the snaps last week. Seven catches, 7 for 7, 44 yards. So I think that was kind of a cumulative knee strain. He was able to practice somewhat this week, and by all accounts, he should be ready to go against the LA Rams next week.
Doc, is there so what's ailing Dallas Goedert? In your opinion, is it something that's going to linger the entire season, or is there a way that we can get him 100% at some point in time, down the stretch?
I haven't heard that he had any MRI evidence of a structural problem. So I think this would fall into the category of a soft tissue injury like a knee strain. And until I hear otherwise, I'm hoping that he will recover fully. He's such an important part of the offense. And usually the Eagles are pretty transparent when there are more serious injuries, such as Will Shipley with the rib fracture. You knew that he'd be out for a month. He'll be out for another 3 weeks. But I'm hoping, and looking at Goedert on the field, he was, looking pretty spry out there as much as you can without getting in the game.
As far as Jalen Carter grabbing his wrist at one point, Doc, do you know anything on that, if that's something to be concerned about?
I was looking through some of the Eagles reporting, the locker room reporting, and I haven't heard that there's any structural problem with the wrist. Jalen Carter was able to return to play and was very impactful through the latter portions of the game, and obviously his return really was very important today in the fact the defense really carried the victory. There was a lot of cramping during the game. His compatriot Jordan Davis had hamstring cramps, and you could see them working on him using the rolling pin and kneading, and it showed that the three people really, Devontae Smith, Carter, and Davis, all kind of had cramps and soft tissue problems throughout the game, and they really toughed it out. It was really a tough game, and as far as I can tell, I haven't seen any serious structural injuries, and that portends very good news for this team.
Just to get on the avenue of something that might be a little bit more serious, Will Shipley, obviously, with the rib injury. What do you know about his status for the rest of the season?
The typical return from a single fractured rib is 4 to 6 weeks. So that's usually a matter of pain management. They haven't really said a lot. The fact that they picked up Tank Bigsby, a name we didn't see or hear today, he's very new from the Jacksonville Jags. But most rib injuries will heal. He's a young man with good healing potential. So I'll project he'll be back in 4 weeks. They also did not put Shipley on injured reserve. So that's also a good prognostic finding in that he should be back within the month.
Fair enough. Dr. Bruce Grossinger, we appreciate you very much for joining us, the sports doc himself. Dr. Bruce, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, when we come back, you just heard from the doc right there, the first time we heard Tank Bigsby's name today. Well, there was another new Eagle that got mentioned a couple of times today. We'll talk about him when we return. This is the unbelievable Seth Joyner Show YouTube channel. Make sure you guys like and subscribe on the Seth Joyner Show YouTube page, as well as on 6abc.com. We'll be back after this.
If you understand that success is built on trusted relationships and dependable performance, Mid-Penn Bank is the right bank for you. We're on a mission to prove that the right bankers can make a big difference. We work harder, we get things done, and we're in your corner. With financial centers strategically located throughout the greater Philadelphia region and new locations in central New Jersey, we're ready to bring you the best in commercial and personal banking. Call or visit us today to connect with a professional Mid-Penn banker. Member FDIC. Go Eagles!
At Revolution X, we know that fortunes are made in times of uncertainty. Are you selling your investment real estate? Are you interested in deferring your tax with a 1031 exchange? At RevX, we're experts in 1031 exchange planning and the use of passive real estate options using DSTs. Not in the midst of an exchange and want to invest in real estate but don't know where to start? Revolution X has institutional grade real estate options for any size investor right now. Set up a consultation at RevXWealth.com. RevX, defer the tax, maximize the gain.
Gentlemen, are you ready for a wardrobe update? Introducing Divine Nine's Custom Menswear, your clothier for truly unique, custom-made threads. With Divine Nine, you can design your own one-of-a-kind suit, jacket, slacks, shirts, golf pants, and shorts, perfectly handcrafted by our skilled artisans who will bring your vision to life. Prepare to stand out from the crowd with Divine Nine's Custom Clothier, official clothier of Seth Joyner. Custom clothing made for you.
I know what you're thinking. Total glow up. What's her secret? Fine, I'll spill. I totally upgraded with Verizon. Everyone gets a free phone with any plan, even if you're already a customer, like me. Now I have Google Gemini. It's like a little glam squad in my pocket. Gemini, what eye makeup goes with this lipstick?
I'd suggest a classic cat eye.
Wow, setting the bar high for daycare pickup. Get in on this.
This upcoming segment brought to you by Weber Display and Packaging. Welcome into the Seth Joyner Show YouTube channel. Once again, Eagles on the heels here of a 20-17 win over the Kansas City Chiefs, improving to 2-0 on the season. And just like that, the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, well, he has his first 3-game losing streak, and the Kansas City Chiefs are 0-2 to start the season. Now, how about this? Howie Roseman always wheeling and dealing, and you know when a guy like Adam Schefter is constantly tweeting about it and posting about it, it's somewhat impressive, okay? Well, Howie Roseman not just sitting on his hands. After week one, he goes out there and makes sure that he can help this Eagles defensive line and the Eagles running back room by going to get Tank Bigsby. And then you also see Zadarius Smith joining the fray. Zadarius Smith, how about this for a debut? Showing up the stat sheet quite a bit. 4 total tackles, 2 of them solo. Gets credit for a half sack, a tackle for loss, and a quarterback hit. Welcome to the party, pal. What'd you make of his debut as an Eagle, Seth?
I thought it was phenomenal. And I like Zadarius Smith because he's different than the other 3 outside guys that they have. You know, Uche, Jalix, and Nolan are pure outside linebackers. So all 3 of those guys, in my opinion, could drop in the coverage. They could, be an outside force in the pass rush. But a guy like Zadarius Smith, in my opinion, he's more of a pure defensive end. And I think that if you're going to run a 30 front type look, I in my opinion, that guy that's playing, on the weak side, to me, that's always, a weak side out, a defensive end anyway, because you're playing a pure 4-2 front. So whether, you call that guy an outside linebacker or a defensive end, he's one and the same. Even if you want to call him an edge guy. But I still think you need that guy, that 6'4", 6'5", 265 to 280 pound guy, like a Zadarius Smith, that can rush the passer, that can be stout against the run, can totally abuse tight ends in the running game. And I really like, that addition.
Gunnar, I want to get your take on that.
Yeah.
But right now, Jalen Hurts is taking to the podium right now in Kansas City.
He's finding a way to win. And, given the competitive nature of the game and how our games have gone when we play this team. So it's a really good team. We got a ton of respect for them, obviously, but you got to come in with a sense of focus. You got to stay patient within yourself, stay patient within the team and your role, and let things come to you. And I think as a team, we showed up when we needed to the most, and that's the most important thing in this league, is finding ways to win. Jake Elliott showing up and making a big-time kick before half. And earlier in the game as well, defense showing up and getting a turnover when it was needed, and we know how important the turnover battle is. Being able to play turnover-free football, in a sense, that helps as well. And showing up when the moment requires someone to show up. And hell of a play by Smitty. Same play he made 2 years ago, the same part of the field, other one ended in a score. I just think overall everybody's staying within themselves and finding a way to win. It's something that you have to take pride in. Take pride in finding a way. Take pride in winning, one, and take pride in what is required of you to win. And I think as a team, defensively, they played lights out. Offensively, we showed up when we needed to win. We just want to continue to build.
What led to that moment with the pass to Devontae, knowing that they were blitzing you a lot, throwing a lot of coverage here at you? Were there discussions about going back to him, or if that would happen again?
Yeah, well, it was a bit of a happening. It's something that I think when you come into a game, there's a level of patience you have to have, right? You got to take what they give you, while being the aggressor and playing with aggression. And I think we were not as patient as we could have been earlier in the game. I'd have to really assess the film to be able to follow that up. But I think in the second half we kind of let things come to us, and we played with great instinct. And Smitty was ready for the adjustment, and we made a big time play. But I think overall, really playing it within yourself. I think that's very important when you talk about winning football. Play within yourself, and win situationally.
You had that explosive play to spin you. What do you think the key is to if you have more explosives in the offense outside of the big play today?
Yeah, it's about being efficient in what you do, one. Secondly, putting ourselves in positions to do that. And the game isn't necessarily won off of fireworks. It's won off of scoring more points than the other team. And so that's what we're able to do. And that's complementary football. That's what it's about. In the end, you play the game for one reason. You play the game to win, nothing more, nothing less. And I'm happy that we were able to find a way to win.
Speaking of Devontae, he came down pretty hard on his back or something like that. We saw him leaving here, limping and hurting. How tough is he to come back and make that?
He came down on his back, but he came up in the clutch. And what else could you ask for?
What are you finding about the way defenses have been playing you so far in these two games? It seems like yards are kind of hard to come by and everything. Are they doing anything differently than maybe what you guys saw in the past?
There's some different nuances there. I think that defenses show to try and present different structures in what they do. Ultimately, it's just about us going out there and playing our game, and just continue to find out what our identity is. I'd be lying to you if I said that we were established and we know exactly who we are. But who knows who they are in week 2? Who knows who they are in week 1? Who knows who they are in that first quarter of the season? And so it's just about staying diligent, staying together, and finding ways to win. You know, we can go back to the film room and assess these things, but when you have a level of mental toughness to yourself and you're able to stay focused and remain disciplined and play good fundamental football to a sense, you know, you find ways to win.
Jalen, you mentioned you made an adjustment on the big play to Devontae. Can you kind of take us through maybe pre-snap what you saw and the details of the play that led you to make the adjustment and get the big play?
Well, just letting it come to you. Letting it come to you. That was a moment where we discussed it, and it presented itself again, and we took advantage of the opportunity.
Jalen Hurts right there addressing the media in Kansas City following the Eagles' victory and improving to 2-0 on the year. A couple of things that he said. The first thing that jumped out to me is just finding ways to win. Now, that does not sit well, I know, with some people, considering 2 years ago, before the Eagles won the Super Bowl, they were going through a lot of struggles throughout the entire year, unfortunately, and they kept on finding ways to win. And then it eventually caught up with them and bit them in the butt right before the playoffs, and they went on that huge slide at the end of the year. I again, can go with this and be fine with it at the start of the season when you have some startup costs. Not only the offensive coordinator is different in play caller, but the defense is very different. I mean, it's still no Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. You don't have all the experience opposite Quinyon Mitchell and Adarius Slay. You're still having the startup costs with Jahad Campbell, although he's been great. And you didn't even have Jalen Carter for the first game of the season. So I can understand why there might be some struggles, as long as it doesn't bleed into later in the year every single week. Well, we found a way to win. We found a way to win. Because you know who else found ways to win last year? The Kansas City Chiefs. And then the Super Bowl happened. Mm-hmm. And they got their brakes beat off in that one, unfortunately. Do you think this is going to become an easier road for the Eagles here, gentlemen? Or do you think this is going to continue to have to eke out wins every single week?
Look at the schedule.
It's unrelenting.
Look at the schedule. I don't think it's going to be easy. What if this is the norm? And we have to hear the same thing at the press conference every week. We found a way to win. We took what they gave us. If they're racking up the W's more so than the L's, I'll take that. I'll take that. I mean, you know, we get spoiled. In today's brand of football, where I call it a glorified brand of touch football, because you can't do much of anything like you used to, the way Seth and I came up watching, and of course, him playing the game at the highest level. You know, the way the game is structured now frustrates me to no end, you know, with the strike zone being narrowed and things of that nature. But the good teams, the exceptional teams, find a way to win. That could be their MO for the entire season. Because you look at some of the teams they're going to face, you look at some of the defenses they're going to face, you look at the list of quarterbacks they're going to face on this schedule this year. This could be their MO for the entire season. But if it puts them in a position, number one, to win their division, number two, possibly again get the number one seed, you know, going into the playoffs, and number three, more importantly, get an opportunity to even get back to a Super Bowl for a second consecutive year, I'm fine with that. Yes, the verbiage will get boring to us and frustrating at times to us. Can you come up with a new way to describe how you won this game today? But the bottom line is racking up more W's than L's. That's all I care about. It's all I care about.
You know, it's funny because, you know, you want your sports team to win, right?
Generally.
And shouldn't winning be all that matters? You know, we get bent out of shape, and I would hate for us to make the comparison. I hate comparisons, whether it be great players or years. I don't like comparisons because the dynamics are always different. In 2023, you know, when the Eagles got off to a 10-1 start and then the wheels fell off, you know, I was saying all season long. You guys remember, I was saying all year long. Yeah, they're finding ways to win, but it just something's off. It doesn't look right. It doesn't feel right. At some point in time, it's going to bite them. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened down the stretch. I don't feel that way with this team. First of all, we're in the preseason window for the starters. So I expect for them to go through some growing pains through the first 4 games of the season. Second of all, you have one of the most dynamic offenses, even though they don't look like it, you know. They find a way to win because they'll beat you whichever way they have to. If they got to run the ball, they'll beat you running the ball. If they got to throw the ball, they can beat you throwing the ball, okay? But they do whatever's necessary in the moment to win football games. And I think that it's pretty glaring to me when you hear a guy like Jalen Hurts sit up there and say, you play to win, okay? That's all that matters. Here's a guy who had 100 yards passing today as a quarterback. Just a franchise quarterback. Not complaining, not, getting all bent out of shape because of what his numbers look like, because he doesn't care about anything but playing to win, okay? The other thing, I talked about it earlier, and then you heard him right there in the press conference say, sometimes you got to take what the defense gives you. And I think offenses get themselves in trouble more by trying to force the issue and force the big play down the field instead of just taking what the defense is giving them, okay, and just stacking drives together in order to put points on the board until you get to an insurmountable lead. And then lastly, he said we're trying to find our identity. And I know a lot of people would hear that and say, what the hell is he talking about? Their identity was Saquon Barkley running the ball all over the NFL last year and then them going play action passes and throwing it behind great defense. But every year is different. We didn't see Saquon, had 100-yard games out the box last year. Through 2 weeks, he hadn't, got close today, but through 2 weeks, he hadn't had that explosive. He's got 200 yards in 2 games. You understand what I'm saying? So I think at the end of the day, every year presents its different challenges. So for us to think that this offense should be polished, that it should be revving, at 100 RPMs, there's no validity to that, because 31 other teams, at least 30, have sat back all off season long and said the Eagles are the Super Bowl champions. They're on our schedule next year. And if they're on our schedule next year, we got to figure out how we contend with that offense and all the weapons that they have and all the problems that they can present. Okay, so if you think the teams are just going to sit pat and let Saquon rush for over 2,000 yards to become the 9th guy, I think it is the 9th guy. I mean, I might be off on that number, but to be that guy that rushed for you, if you think the NFL is going to let him do that again, you're insane. Okay, so then that means that you've got to change your mentality about how you're going to run your offense, and then throw on top of that you got a new first-time offensive coordinator. So I think the Eagles and the Eagles fans and the Eagles media should be happy that this team is 2-0 through the first 2 games, considering the 2 opponents that they had out of the gate. You got your rival, and then you got the team that you just beat in the Super Bowl, and you think that they didn't have malice in their hearts and revenge on their mind today? But the Eagles went to Kansas City and took the win. They're 2-0. So I don't understand what it is that people want. Do you want statistics or do you want the win? And I get it. Some of these people are D-gun. I know some of these people are fantasy people.
Exactly.
And they've drafted Jalen.
Saquon.
They've drafted all these players, and they're pissed off because the Eagles are 2-0, but they're last in their fantasy league.
Mm-hmm. Go back to Kansas City's record in 2024, including their playoff run and getting to the Super Bowl. They won 11 games by 7 points or less. 11 games. Think about that. Because they had their target on their back, they found a way to win. Eagles, 2 games in, have won 2 games by a grand total of 7 points. This could be the MO of what we're going to see all season long. If you're winning, that's a heck of a team. If you can find a way to win with this schedule, for the first time in the history of the Super Bowl era, the defending champion coming back is playing 10 games against opponents that went to the playoffs the season ago. And if you can rack up a record even close to what you did a year ago, with a young nucleus, you have the youngest starting defense in the National Football League. Look how many points they've given up in 2 games. They're giving up like what? 20? What did they give up to Dallas? 20? Mm-hmm. What did they give up today? Yeah. 17? You've given up 37 points in 2 games with the youngest defense in the National Football League, and you're still going through a maturation process. Mm-hmm. You've won 2 games by a grand total of 7 points. I don't care if you win by 1 point for the next 15 weeks, as long as you get them W, man. I don't care.
Now, I don't want anyone to get this twisted. I'm bringing this up out of praise.
Oh, yes, you do.
I'm bringing this up out of praise. This is praise.
Okay, all right.
This is not a shot.
Right. Okay,
I'm not throwing this back in the man's face.
All right.
And quite frankly, it's one of the many things I love about Jalen Hurts being the starting quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles. You mentioned, just stacking the wins and stacking the W's. Yes, ultimately that's what matters most. But Jalen Hurts, and I think this is one of the things that Philadelphia loves about their quarterback, it's not just about the wins and the losses. Yes, it's the most important thing, but it's also about that little word that he likes throwing out, standard. Was today's game up to the standard that this offense thinks they could be at?
Oh, I doubt that.
Okay.
I mean, I know they expect more out of this offense.
And that's not fans, that's not comments,
No,
that is Jalen Hurts, the quarterback.
No, they expect more out of this offense. When you look at the personnel they have, they expect more. But they have enough people. They have arguably the best offensive line in the game. You have a 2,000-yard rusher returning, which makes him the premier running back in the National Football League. You have 1A and 1B at wide receivers. You have a top tight end. You know, you have everything you need, and you have a quarterback that doesn't turn the ball over that much. What else do you want? What else do you want from this team?
See, I see what you did there.
But is it not what makes him great?
I see what you did there, and I'm not going to let you get away with it.
Here we go.
I'm not going to let you get away with it because, see, you just shifted the narrative. Okay?
It's his narrative.
No, the standard, okay? The standard could be a bunch of different things, okay? The standard of how you play, the standard of intensity that you play with, the standard of intelligence that you play with. But at the end of the day, the number one standard, if you had a whole list of those standards, the standard is to win, okay? So now we can talk about what the standard is from a statistical standpoint, but there are quarterbacks and there are offenses that have statistics that are off the charts. And at the end of the day, they don't win, okay? So the standard is the winning by any means necessary. The standard is to win every single game that you step on the field and play, okay? Take this for example, okay? Jalen Hurts has said there's a standard. Jalen Hurts' record after today in the regular season, including the playoffs, is 54-23. This man is 21 games over 500, okay? He's 48-20, okay, during the regular season. Come on, man. What else do y'all want? What else could you possibly want? If the standard is winning, those numbers bear it, okay? He's a Super Bowl winner, Super Bowl MVP. This team is looked at, they're wearing the crown as the champions right now. And we're sitting here debating about standards?
Well, it's fantasy points. It's the fantasy points. All about the points. The standard to me when Jalen says that is winning. Winning more than you're losing. That's the standard as far as how I'm going to determine it until he clarifies it any other way. That's the standard. That's what every organization wants. We want our standard to be winning.
That's
the bottom line.
I couldn't let him get away.
I know you did. I'm glad you went after him instead of me.
It was a positive.
So let me ask you a question.
Go for it.
As far as standards are concerned.
Go for it.
Okay? Because Jeffrey Lurie said it back in, I want to say 2003.
Okay.
About the Eagles being the gold standard.
Yes.
Are they now the gold standard?
Oh, absolutely, they're the gold standard.
Okay.
Took him a while to get there, but he's there.
You're right.
Took him a long time to get there, but he's there.
22 years later.
22
he
years
was
later, he's
right.
there. He's there.
He just nailed it.
Yeah. You know, listen, so I'm looking in the chat right here. Troy Willer said, Seth, we as Eagles fans, we're greedy. And I agree. And I got into it, with one of the callers on WIP last year when I said that sometimes, Eagles fans are ungrateful. I think that we as fans can be ungrateful because our expectations are so high that when the team does have success, we can't have a semblance of gratitude, and enjoy the success that our sports franchises have. Because we are greedy, we want more, the expectations are higher, and when you have all the content around this football team and then you throw in WIP on top of it, now you create this engine for nonstop talk and, we got to fill the void. We got to talk for 4 hours on radio and some of the nonsense that you come up with. Like, there was a host this week on WIP that said, this is an acceptable game for the Eagles to lose. I'm are you out of your damn
I know who
mind?
you're talking about. I know exactly
There is no game that's acceptable.
No.
Are you kidding me?
No, I know who you're talking about.
This is no acceptable loss.
If you don't know, Mark, we'll tell you after the show's over.
I have an idea.
Okay. But
I'll tell you his name if you want to know.
Go for it if you'd like to.
He's in Kansas City, Elliott Shore Park. Cannot wait to hear his rhetoric after next week on WIP.
I'm going to tell you right now, this win, unacceptable. Had to be a 40-point win.
Unacceptable.
Had to be a 40-point win. How about that? I will say this as far as Jalen Hurts goes. I talk about standards and whatnot. I love the standard that he keeps for this Philadelphia Eagles team. And I've said this before. I really feel like he's just cracked the code on playing quarterback in the NFL because the guy can do just about anything on the football field.
Listen, Tom Brady said that nobody can stop him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nobody
Well,
can
how are
stop
you going to – I mean, you talk about picking your poison between him and Saquon Barkley. What about picking the poison that just Jalen Hurts can dole out, which he answered in that Super Bowl, by the way, about being able to throw the football downfield.
And I think that Tom says that because he can beat you with his legs, he can beat you with his arm, and when he's standing at that line of scrimmage, people will never give him credit for this, but he beat you with his mind because every single time that they run the read option, and they haven't run it a lot the first couple of weeks. They're going to break it out on somebody and just the running game's going to explode. But every single time he runs the read option, or the RPO, he is making a decision. Do I give this ball or do I keep it? And if he makes a wrong decision, it's second and long. You understand what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely.
When he's standing at the line of scrimmage and he's looking out over an offense and he sees the adjustment by the offense, he's making checks at the line of scrimmage that no one gives him credit for. Okay? So when Tom Brady says he can't be stopped, it's because he understands that he can beat you in three different ways. He can beat you with his legs, he can beat you with his arms, but most importantly, he can beat you with his brain.
That's right.
Yeah. One of the things I always say is, if he checks to a run on Saquon Barkley and Saquon Barkley breaks it off for 70 yards, what stat does Jalen Hurts get for that?
You don't get any of the credit.
Exactly.
Being smart.
Being smart.
To read the play
but
right.
They don't talk about
I
it.
know that.
Because in that play against the Rams, that first 70-yarder that Saquon ripped off, he checked to that play. The play to Devontae Smith in the Super Bowl, coming in the second half, that 46-yard touchdown, he checked to it. Okay? So now the prognosticators and the gurus that talk about what he can't do and what he isn't and how inefficient he is, they will never, ever talk about those elements of Jalen Hurts' game. But they'll sit back and judge how well he throws the ball and the throws that he missed and all of these things. And I'm like, give the guy his credit. Give him his credit. Like you give all these other quarterbacks, Josh Allen and Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert, the same way that you give those guys credit for being a field general, okay? Give him his due because he's doing a lot to run. And D-Gun, he took over protection calls last year.
Yes, he did. We didn't know that until the offseason, that he took over the protection calls. But you look at Jalen Hurts' numbers from this game today. He only threw 22 passes. He barely broke the century mark in passing yards. Did he turn the ball over? Did he make any mistakes with the ball? Did he stand tall in the pocket on one of the most defining plays of the game when he had an all-out blitz and he threw a perfect rainbow and Devontae made the necessary adjustment and got the ball? What else do you want?
Twice.
I think twice. I think people need to get out of this mindset that Jalen is going to be a 4,000-yard passer. It's not going to happen. But if he's winning games for you, the bottom line is don't turn the ball over. You look at some of these guys, they're throwing for 3,500, 4,500 yards. They have 12 interceptions, 14 interceptions, 5 or 6 fumbles a season. Are they winning anything? They get to the playoffs, and what happens? They're not winning anything. I'd much rather have an efficient quarterback with low individual numbers who is spreading the wealth more so than a guy who gets all the accolades for throwing for 385 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Oh, by the way, his team lost. Plain and simple.
That's why when people say, well, if he was on this team or if he was on that team, I'm like, okay, now we're talking about fantasy. Not fantasy football, but you're talking about your little hypothetical.
Exactly.
And I'll tell you a second thing. I hope we never find out. I hope he always has a complete team around him.
Listen, I told guys, I was on some show, I was like, I don't give a damn about No, as a matter of fact, I was on my podcast right here in the studio with Howard Eskin last week. He was like, well, you mean to tell me that if Justin Herbert, I'm like, I don't give a damn about Justin Herbert being our quarterback. He ain't our quarterback. I'm not concerned with Justin Herbert unless he bring his ass to Philadelphia or we go to San Diego and play with him, okay?
Fair enough.
Our quarterback has a better winning record than Justin Herbert, and he been to 2 Super Bowls, and he got one and an MVP, and Justin Herbert is still trying to get a playoff win. You understand what I'm saying? Now, he's on his way, and yes, he is highly talented. And people are going to say, oh, but the talent around him. You can't hold that against Jalen Hurts because he got the best GM in the National Football League.
I'm going to go back to the word we were talking about a while ago, greedy. You look at the success that New England had for 15 years, but yet Bill Belichick didn't get to walk out on his own terms. You look at the success Chuck Knowles had in Pittsburgh, but yet he didn't get the opportunity to walk out on his own terms. He basically said it was just time to get on with life's work. You look at some of the more prominent coaches in the National Football League who has given a city, i.e. Andy Reid, 14 years, much success, wasn't able to walk out on his own terms. So you do get greedy. Nothing lasts forever. Nothing lasts forever. I came here in 1997, and people were so down on the Philadelphia Eagles before Andy Reid got here. It was sad. We never won anything, and then of course teams from outside looking in, the fan base from the outside looking in. Everybody in the NFC East has a Super Bowl championship, except the Philadelphia Eagles. And then Andy Reid gave this team in this town some pride for a lot of the years he was here. 5 consecutive championship conference divisional titles, conference championships, 1 Super Bowl appearance. Okay, it didn't end well for him, but he gave this organization, the city, some pride. Then they bring in a guy like Doug Peterson. You're like, why didn't you hire Doug Peterson? What has he ever done? Oh, he gets them to a Super Bowl and wins it, okay? It didn't end the way he wanted it to, though. Left on bad terms with this organization. Now you have a Nick Sirianni. He's giving his team, this town, pride. They can beat their chest. They hoisted that trophy, and right now, nobody's knocked them off that pedestal as we sit here today. What else do you want?
Take your best shot.
Matt, you could be in Cleveland. You could be in Cincinnati. You could be in Chicago.
Let me stop you right there. Nope. No thanks.
See what I'm saying?
No thank you.
What if the Chargers won? Okay. Arizona Cardinals. There's a whole lot of teams out there that ain't hoisting nothing.
All right, we're gonna put a bow on this victory for the Eagles when we come back. We got our final break here. Of course, you're watching the Seth Joyner Show YouTube channel as well as, of course, at Verizon. You're listening to and watching the Verizon Post Game show following the Eagles' 20-17 victory over the Kansas City Chiefs. Back after this.
Pride, passion, and persistence. These are the values that drive us all at Ron Jaworski Golf. We strive to deliver outstanding conditions as well as playability for golfers of all ages and abilities. Our championship golf courses offer a variety of challenges from a link-style walk along the river to an escape into the pines and everything in between. My team at Ron Jaworski Golf is committed to delivering memorable experiences every single day. See all we do at ronjaworskigolf.com.
Since 1893, Weber Display and Packaging has been Pennsylvania's leading manufacturer of corrugated packaging and displays. We're family owned with 4 Philadelphia locations, 2 converting facilities, a warehouse, and a fulfillment center. Designed through delivery, we exceed customer needs. Weber Display and Packaging. Our core values drive everything we do. Come join our team.
If you understand that success is built on trusted relationships and dependable performance, Mid-Penn Bank is the right bank for you. We're on a mission to prove that the right bankers can make a big difference. We work harder, we get things done, and we're in your corner. With financial centers strategically located throughout the greater Philadelphia region and new locations in central New Jersey, we're ready to bring you the best in commercial and personal banking. Call or visit us today to connect with a professional Mid-Penn banker. Member FDIC. Go Eagles!
This upcoming segment is brought to you by Mid-Penn Bank. Your 2-0 Philadelphia Eagles are going to be taking on the LA Rams, also 2-0 on the season. They're coming off a 33-19 win over the Tennessee Titans. So far this season, they've beaten the Texans, they've beaten the Titans. That one was on the road. They're going to go on the road to South Philadelphia for a 1 o'clock kickoff against the Eagles. Early feelings on this matchup, gentlemen. Another rematch of last year's playoffs.
You know, it just doesn't get any easier for the Eagles. You know, I think I read somewhere where the Eagles have on tap this year 10 playoff teams from last season. And, you know, this Rams team has a bone to pick because Saquon just ran roughshod over them last year. I think he rushed for almost
8,000 yards on them.
Yeah. You know, so and a lot of Rams fans believe that had we not gotten the snow in the divisional game last year, that they had an opportunity, a chance to win that game. So, you know, it's going to be another tough game. You know, the Rams defense is getting better. They made massive improvements, you know, over the years. And, you know, they played the Eagles, you know, tough the last game. They just couldn't get Saquon under control. The offense, you know, they got Devontae Adams now,
Yes.
and Puka Nacua.
And Tutu Atwell and Tyler Higbee.
Yeah. I mean, they've got some weapons. So the Eagles are going to have their challenge. But I still believe that this team is trending and moving in the right direction. And I'm confident that the Eagles at home will get another victory. Hey, listen, it's going to be a tough season. If they can get back to the promised land, D-Gun, it's going to be because they have played the best in order to get to the best from the AFC again.
Absolutely. The Eagles' mindset for next Sunday has to be, this is my house. You coming in my house.
If you guys had to take one takeaway from this game today, what would it be?
I'm going to use Nick Sirianni's word, resiliency. I think that's the perfect way to look at it. It wasn't pretty. The numbers don't make sense in terms of we found a way to win this game with under 220 yards of offense. But bottom line is we won in one of the most hostile environments in all of the National Football League. So I'm going to use the word resiliency.
Simply put, I'm just going to, take a line from Malcolm X, by any means necessary. They win by any means necessary. Whatever it takes to get the job done, they're willing to do it to get the job done.
And just like that, your Philadelphia Eagles are 2-0 to start their season.
Go ahead.
Know
what else?
What do you got?
Next week, a 1 o'clock game.
What?
We get a 1 o'clock game.
See you bright and early.
Next 3 games, 1 o'clock games, baby.
You just want brunch next week instead of lunch.
Well, you know what?
True.
You know what?
True. We weren't told.
I forgot about that. What? I might show up an hour early and have 2 brunches.
I think you guys referenced it 3 times, and I just want to be, cards on the table. There's no secrets here. Only because you guys have mentioned it 3 times. It's for the fantasy football owners that have A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts. They're upset. I have A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts, and you know what? I'm not upset because I'm a team guy. I'm all about the city winning.
But look at the numbers that A.J. and Devontae have last week and this week. Look at their combined numbers.
Yeah, whatever. They're winning.
They're winning.
Yeah, that's all
that matters, man.
It doesn't help me personally,
your
but it helps the city.
Your 2,000-yard back is yet to crack the century mark. Your wide receivers are getting subpar catch numbers and total yards. You fantasy leaguers. Feel sorry for you, but
I feel good.
I will say this: if you can find a way to beat the 2 teams that they just beat in back-to-back weeks, like they are playing with their B and their C game right now. You remember when Tiger Woods used to talk about?
That's a great way to put it.
If I'm playing my A game, you don't stand a snowball's chance.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
If I'm playing my B game, I may win maybe 80% of the time. If I'm playing my C game, more times than not, the field comes back to me, okay? They're playing with their B and their C game right now. So if they can win with their B and C game, can you imagine what it's going to be like when they can get to their A game?
Not to get off track, but I'm already putting my order in next week. I want an omelet. I want some bacon. I want a waffle.
I've never seen somebody that's always got food.
Wait. I'm calling you out. This man, I have the text to prove it. This man threatened me that if I don't bring him some smoked ribs, that our friendship will end. If he doesn't get smoked ribs from me before winter hits, technically the winter doesn't start until December 22nd. But if I don't bring him smoked ribs, he may kick me off the show. Now, some of you may be happy to hear about this, but I'm distraught right now. I'm a little distraught.
No,
I feel under pressure.
Farzi, you know what it is?
What's that?
So I follow him on Facebook and all social media,
I know where you're going.
And all spring, sometimes in early winter.
Yeah.
He's out. He's got a green egg and,
grilling season.
I mean, he got a Traeger. What else? Tell everybody what you got.
I got a green egg. I've got a Traeger pellet smoker. I've got the Blackstone, the big Blackstone four burner grill. I have a Charbroil infrared gas grill, and I also had a standard Black Weber kettle
And
grill.
he's always grilling, okay? Always cooking something. And he posted it on social media.
I'm starting
all
to think
the
they're
time.
just stock Getty
No,
images of grilling
listen.
in somebody else's backyard.
I'm trying to tell you, and I've been knowing this guy. I've been working with this guy.
Yeah, how long now?
Almost 8 years now.
At least that. Wow.
Almost 8 to 10 years.
Yeah.
I feel guilty.
I haven't tasted a wing.
Wow.
Not a single wing.
Wow.
It's a myth.
Okay, I tell you what. I'll make you this
here
promise.
we go.
I'm making a promise.
And I offered to buy the grub. Okay, if I gotta buy,
I never heard that.
You need to stop.
Man, you know what? Hold on, man. You keep money in your pocket so long when it come out, it got sunglasses on. I ain't never heard you offer to buy me no meat.
I'm going to back out of this one.
Last year,
Yes,
I
sir.
said it last year. I said, listen.
Pull the tape up.
I said, I will buy the meat if you grill it.
Did you say it on the show? Where's the tape? I want to see the
For
tape.
the second time.
He just said it.
I
He
promise
just
you.
said it
that.
now.
For either one of the 425 or an 815 game, I'm getting you off my back finally.
You know what his excuse was?
What's that?
What?
Oh man, if I bring ribs up in there, the whole studio gonna be smelling like
it's
ribs.
true.
Gonna be smelling like ribs.
clothing?
And
Oh, drat.
and if I
your
eat some good
clothing,
ribs, I want to smell like good ribs.
You're gonna have to send your suit to the dry cleaner.
That's okay
Your
with
car's
me.
gonna be smelling like smoke for the next day or two.
That's okay with me.
Okay, I'm
Bring
just
me,
telling you.
bring me them ribs.
There we go.
All right, do you want them with mesquite wood, apple wood, or pecan wood? Which one?
How many smokers you got?
One that I use actual wood for, which is a green egg. The other one's a pellet smoker.
Bro, I don't care.
I got to go with the green egg for the, if I'm gonna bring them to you and satisfy your palates, it has to be the green egg ribs.
All right.
So
What,
I'm hook you up.
chef's choice.
Grill 'em
I'm
with
hook you up.
gun.
I'm in.
Look,
I'm in.
I'm gonna ask my wife for a
Why
loan.
don't we can start another show, man.
We could.
Grill
You know,
with gun.
people been on my case for over 2 years. Why don't you have your own podcast or website doing grilling? Because then to me that's work. Now I understand I can make some money off this, but that's work to me. That's not enjoyable. I do it when I enjoy doing it. My leisure. And you should be thinking in terms of monetary value to a certain degree, but I don't want to do that.
All you got to do is put some cameras up around your grills and just do what you do.
True.
And then go back and take the content, have them cut it up and edit it, throw it up as a
See,
podcast.
then you got to get somebody to edit for you. You got to pay people all this. Man, I don't know if I want to do all that, man. It's an enjoyment. It's like people who paint for a hobby.
Let's keep our eye on the prize. Just bring the ribs next week, dude.
Can we do it next week? I can't do it next week.
Can we sign off so our
Yes,
production
absolutely.
people can go home?
By the way,
man?
speaking of food, our thanks to the White Dog Cafe for supplying our in-game meal. We very much appreciate that. Thanks for joining us here on the Seth Joyner Show YouTube channel, n6abc.com. We'll be back with you guys. We're kicking off at 11:30 for the pregame show next week, 11:30 to 12:30, ahead of the 1 p.m. game against the LA Rams. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll catch you guys next week here on the Verizon Post Game Show.
Go Birds.